What up, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners, your favorite full spoiler reread podcast of Brotherhood Without Manners. I've lost my place, so we're gonna start over anyway.
Shit, dude!
You fucked me up.
No, I couldn't handle that.
What up, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners, your favorite full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series. I'm Nate, and joining me, as always, today, my brother that's younger than me and less wise and fucking interrupting all my intros, man. It took me 3 tries today. This guy, Zach.
I didn't interrupt. Shit.
Oh, you started laughing.
You just couldn't handle yourself. What if I'm Zach? And we read A Song of Ice and Fire here, and we are currently on A Clash of Kings.
Yeah.
And we'd like to talk about it. We are full spoilers, so if you've never listened to us, go away now. Avert your gaze and ears. Gaze doesn't work.
Yeah, because we
Don't avert your gaze if you listen to podcasts while you're driving. That's
Yeah,
probably not good
not,
advice.
Not a good idea.
Shit, sorry.
But, you know.
But, yeah, we spoil shit. So if you don't want A Song of Ice and Fire spoiled for you up to A Clash of Kings, go away. But come back once you do read, because we like listeners. But if you have been here before, thanks for coming back.
So last
Appreciate
episode, we
Oh,
apparently you're right. I just can't keep my shit together today. Last episode, we were reading Daenerys' first point of view chapter for Clash of Kings.
Yeah.
And so we got to see her struggling her way through
Struggling.
through the desert and ending up in the City of Bones.
Well, they named it the City of Bones. It is not officially the
that's
City
what
of Bones.
she
Some
called it,
forgotten monument of a city that, it ended up being their salvation there, where they were able to find some clean water, some decent food to live off of. They started fortifying it. Nate and I had guesstimated that she had been there approximately a couple months, seeming by the descriptions and passage of her waiting for her outriders, and finally it was Vaccaro, who she thought was lost and came back last.
Yes.
And Vaccaro had with him 3 queerly dressed folk.
Jogo. Wait, no. Yeah, it was Jogo.
It was Jogo.
It is known.
It is known.
Yes.
Jogo returned with 3 queerly dressed folk who introduced themselves as Pyat Pri, Zorozo, and Doxus in Quaith, and they were seeking dragons. And so Danny got introduced to the folks of Koth.
But this episode, we are reading Johnny Boy, John 2.
So I really like the contrast immediately with John and Danny. We go from the arid, burning
gross
brutal desert to the brutal, frigid, arid, cold, and jumping right into it.
So, last time with
John, not jumping right in. Don't jump right in.
Don't jump right in. It's cold up there.
Ledge.
You need to brace yourself.
Yeah.
You have to ease yourself into
it.
this for this one. So, last time, I don't even remember what happened last time. They were preparing to leave, or they had already left?
No, they were preparing to leave.
Yeah, okay, sorry. It's been a while since we read
it was essentially sort of the recap of...
I started a new notebook since the last
John had found Samwell Tarly going over the maps and how old they were, and Sam really just wanted to stay and enjoy sorting the library because there was a ton of knowledge that he thought there could be found down
trying
there.
to talk his way out of having to go north of the wall. And then John had a chat
with Mormont.
With Mormont.
And basically about who Maester Aemon was and the comparison between him and Aemon,
right.
and how we learned quite a bit about Aemon, about how Aemon had a king for a brother as well, and he don't want to hear none of John's bullshittery north of the wall. So, what are you going to do about it? And John said he'll be angsty, but he'll serve, essentially.
I'm going to do my duty. I don't want
it.
But I'll do it. And so it's nice, actually, because this chapter is a bit refreshing on the...
Short and sweet.
It's, it doesn't give him time to bitch about anything, really.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot. So we open up, and they're inside this little village known as White Tree, and I use the term village very loosely, as it's 4 small houses in ruins with nothing else besides this dark red canopy from the giant weirwood in the town.
The monstrous great weirwood, the biggest tree Jon Snow had ever seen. The trunk of it was near 8 feet wide, the branches spreading so wide as to cover the entire village with its canopy. So yeah, it is massive and sweet.
Yeah.
My mental image of it is just really, really cool.
Great, because I'm going to come right back to that here in a second, because the next thing we learn is that instead of the normal just slash of a mouth, this thing has a giant hollow in place of that, large enough that a sheep could fit inside. But those weren't sheep bones inside.
Negative.
And because they're going to start, toying around inside of that, getting the skull out for Mormont and shit like that. And so the thing I want to imagine instead is this nasty fucking gaping hollow of a tree with a fucking fire inside of that mouth. Just burning. Like, the image of that, casting that red with, like, this dark canopy and, like, the way it would just look, how fucking scary that is.
Yeah, I was kind of confused when reading this, because at first with the skull, I was like, oh, the skull. Well, like, we know that the first men used to sacrifice pretty brutally. They would string up people's entrails in the trees to sacrifice to the old gods and such and such. And so, like, oh, it's a sacrifice. There's skulls. There's dead people. They're probably sacrifices. But the fact that there was fire in the tree seems odd to me, because I don't feel like that feels more like desecration than it does sacrificial.
Because I was a little surprised about the fire as well.
Like, why is someone?
What if it catches the tree
that's
on
what
fire?
I mean. Is
maybe it's because it's so old and
like
stone fossilized.
When John does look in, he notices all the red sap, the sort of crystallized sap that's in there, making it look blood red.
But it does seem like a risk. I agree.
Yeah,
and that's why I think that it looks, when I was picturing the fire in the dark, like, because I'm not picturing it during the day, just this night scene where these red-leaved white branch and this huge hollow of a mouth burning, just the light that's being cast, the way it's dancing, kind of reminded me of the tent with Drogo. Just these weird shadows being cast, but fuck, it's imposing, just that burning, flaming.
Yeah, because all I can think of is, if it's the wildlings, like if it's the wildlings setting the fires, worshiping the old gods, like, so this is essentially their crematorium. They're like, for that. But does that mean that they're aware that this tree can't be burned? And then what does that signify? Is, like, are these trees immune to fire? Is that because that's a Targaryen trait?
Right.
So it's interesting. What the fuck? It does.
What's
Why are
happening
they
here?
lighting fires in this jagged hole? Is it not enough to place the bodies inside there? Is it
because they do need to burn them is the thing.
They burn the dead, but burning them
why
in
not
the
do it
tree
on a pyre?
seems
intense. And then just that risk of burning the tree down. So it's strange. I don't know. I'm not sure what to think of that.
But Mormont calls it an old tree, and his raven agrees, taking up the old, and John just says, and powerful. He could feel the power coming from it.
Like, so,
I mean, that's the fucking line. John could feel the power. Like,
right.
It's not hinted at. It's not alluded to. It's not, I think I might feel some connection with my father. John could feel the power emanating
now,
from this
that
tree.
Could be very emotional.
Reverence in his father's gods.
And all that, but I don't know. It's just so direct so immense.
Because we learn in a little bit that they found nothing this whole ranging, only abandoned wildling villages. So painting it in that context of this ghost town, this village that is seemingly, the way they're cleared out, it's as if no one ever lived there.
Yeah. Now, he also mentions this is the largest tree he has ever seen. Ever. And, granted, he doesn't live in the forests of fucking here or there. He lived right outside the fucking forests of Winterfell, and he's now been on this ranging up north of the wall. This tree's fucking massive. 8 feet, like, I don't know if it's at a round or I think across, but just
8 feet wide, at the trunk, I've been doing this fun thing when I'm reading is to try to picture what other characters would think when seeing it. And I put myself in the point of view of Arya seeing this tree and what she would think.
I guess that's relevant.
And Arya's comparison, I think if Arya was to come to this scene as Jon Snow has, she would think the tree ate them. That would be her, or like her visual representation of what's happening here. Like, it's as if this monstrous tree ate them. And that's the feeling that I feel like is subtly trying to be him is that they were consumed by this mouth, this gate, because it's just empty.
Well, because you said earlier sacrifice, and that's it. Like, it's there to take these souls, to take these fucking...
Like, it's a portal of some sort to the underworld, and it's,
or has
it's
a direct,
intense.
Now, see, then I feel like it's going to be like the Flu Network, and they're going to just step in, use flu powder, and just
Winterfell!
Isle of Faces!
That's pretty good. So it's at this point that our old friend Thorin Smallwood steps up and says, "Ugh, fuck, that face is fucking creepy. It's small wonder that men feared them when they first came to Westeros. I have half a mind to take an axe to it myself." Which, like, fucking ballsy, dude.
Yeah, dude, that's right
to
under
say
the god.
Like right there, while you're shaded under the canopy in this ghost town. Like, clearly he's not picking
the
up.
Smallwoods are Southern family, Southern house would make sense. Because, basically everywhere he's in he's acting like a cunt.
Yeah.
Which is probably why he's
he
in
was
the Vanguard.
one of Alistair Thorne's little fucking groupies or minions, as John had noted. So, of course he's just being a fucking cunt and not gonna pay the rest. But I also think it's painting that not everyone is feeling the power that John is feeling.
Right, and that's why
Mormont,
it makes me feel like it's not necessarily an actual power emanating from it. It's more their feelings towards that, and how it's, when he says it's powerful, because it's impacting him.
We get a little more of that next, because John says that his father believed that no man could tell a lie in front of a heart tree, and the old gods knew when men were lying. And so, I think that's sort of pointing more toward the reverence of his father's god, but still an imposing scene. And Mormont agrees, saying his father believed the same, but he'll take a closer look at that skull there, John.
Johnny boy,
So
Johnny
John
boy.
fetches, and we get the Longclaw recap of why John has it and how it's on his sword.
And a bastard sword for a bastard boy.
Yeah.
But whatever.
And he reaches the tree, and he reached a gloved hand down into the maw. And inside the hollow was red.
The maw.
Yeah.
The mouth, like, just the way that it's...
Inside the hollow was red with dried sap and blackened by fire. And under the first skull, he finds another, smaller, the jaw broken off and half buried in ash. And so he brings it to Mormont, and the old bear stares into its empty eyes like... What the fucking
To be
fuck?
or not to be.
With the imagery in this of just this,
this skull.
old... Oh, I bumped the mic.
Motherfucker.
This old grizzled bear sitting on his fucking horse, just staring down this skull of a wildling, we can presume, and just saying that wildlings burn their dead. We've always known that. Now I wish I asked them why when there was still a few around to ask.
Yeah, which is... I want to say naive, but is it on Mormont's part?
No, I mean...
Because John is like... because after thinking about that white, I kind of think I know why they do that. Like...
Well, I don't think Mormont is saying, like, I would just ask them why they burn their dead. Like, he would say, like... Are you burning your dead because, like, they're coming back actively? Or are you burning your dead because you've known about that this can happen and you're, like... Mormont saw Othor too.
It's more he wants to hear
what
else
the
can we learn from you?
That's what he's saying is, like, I wish I fucking knew what these wildlings knew north of the wall. They've been burning their dead long before we fucking learned of it. So what else do they know?
And why did they do it? Is that why they do it, or are they...
So John thinks of Othor rising and when he saved Mormont and his blue eyes, and he knew why they burned their dead. He was certain, but... Mormont goes on, saying, "Would that Bones could talk. This fellow could tell us much. How he died, who burned him and why, where the wildlings have gone. The children of the forest could speak to the dead, it was said, but I cannot." And he just tosses the skull back into the tree, which fucking baller. Like, atop a horse, three-pointer, just fucking little dust pops up, like...
I think he was right next to it and just kind of tossed it in.
But
sure, you want to say he's making a 20-foot shot,
it
no looking over his shoulder, hook shot.
It doesn't say that he rode closer. It said that John got it and brought it to him.
That's because he doesn't want to dismount.
He's balling.
It's because he doesn't want to dismount. He wasn't far from it.
But all right. MVP.
Okay. And, like, John was sitting there playing goalie, trying to block that shit, went right between his arms.
But he orders them to begin searching the houses and bring down the hounds, though he's not really hopeful at them picking up any sign of any wildlings anywhere.
Yeah.
And so it was 2 men to a house so that nothing was missed.
And John was paired up with Mr. Dolores Edison Tollett. There's so many fucking Eddies.
What a name, man. Edison Tollett, a squire that the brothers had taken to calling Dolores Ed, who says that it was bad enough when the dead come walking. Now the old bear wants them talking. No good will come of that. Who's to say the bones won't lie? Why should death make a man truthful or more clever?
Yeah, I really like that line.
The dead are likely dull and full of tedious complaints. Which, fucking apt.
Well, yeah, because then he goes into, my grave's too small. He gets more work. And I actually had this quote from I had a little calendar for each day that had a quote from the series on it. And I had that one in particular pinned to my fucking board at work for a long time. Just because, I really like that quote because it makes me laugh. That and I, work where I do. So that helps. But
Sure, yeah. John enters the house that they're fucking ordered to search, finding only hard-packed dirt and no furnishings and no sign of anyone having been here for a while. And Ed mentions growing up in a house very similar to this, and begins eyeing a nest of dry straw bedding, saying that he would give all the gold at Casterly Rock to sleep in a bed again. And John judges the shit out of him.
Yeah, this is where I was like, wow, what a fucking snooty son of a bitch. Yeah. Oh, you call that a bed? And he's like, I call anything that's off the floor and under a roof a bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck you, man.
So they find nothing in the rest of the house, and this is where we learn that this was the 4th village with the same, finding nothing in it. No signs of the villages being attacked, just emptied. And John wonders what the fuck could have happened to him. Not really. Is it such a far-fetched idea for them to be like, yeah, maybe they're fleeing from something? But, I don't know. It's just an odd...
I think, yeah, they're very confused about the fact that, granted, it's been, thousands of years, and they've always fought against them, but not until recently do they decide, oh, fuck this, we're going to dip out. But, yeah, if they're for the first time ever, they're all uniting under Mance Raider, maybe it is.
And there's been rumors of Mance around. We got them in Pokemon. Yeah. So it's an interesting that they're also baffled
I think
by
it's
it.
because of the whites, they're on edge and looking to fucking, I don't know.
But Ed answers John saying that something worse than we can imagine, probably. Well, I might be able to imagine it, but I'd rather not. I would rather think happier thoughts instead of going to my death thinking shitty death thoughts. And so outside, Chet had come up with the dogs sniffing around. And when he sees John, his eyes narrow because Chet is very upset still.
Because he got his job taken because John gave it to Sam, basically.
And yeah, the other houses reveal nothing. And
yeah, Mormont kind of asks by yelling, "Gone!" Huh? And then his raven starts repeating after him in typical white dickhead raven mode. Gone! Gone! Gone!
Yeah.
Fucker.
Thorin Smallwood mentions that there were wildlings at White Tree only a year past, and this is when John notes that he looks much more a lord than Lord Mormont does, because he is clad currently in Sir Jeremy Rikar's armor, black mail, and embossed breastplate. And this Jeremy Rikar was the one that was killed by the White, who was trying to defend Mormont. And so, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, the watch doesn't waste.
Yeah, and that's they make it the watches, but for him to be the one to get this nice armor.
And he's a fuck.
But yeah, I think it's Mormont mentions, a lot can fucking change in a year, yo.
Yeah.
Robert Baratheon was king a year ago. The war was still at peace, is what I was gonna say. But the realm was still at peace because
Jarman Buckwell says that.
That's it. Yeah,
a year ago, Robert was king, and the realm had peace. Much can change in a year. He's also the commander of the Scouts, which I thought was it. And I think his name is funny to me because it just feels so manly and aggressive, because to me, I just can't help but when I look at it, I see it and break it down as Jarhead and Buckshot for some reason.
Darman,
Like, yeah, and like, so it's like
Darman.
very military
Yeah,
sounding to me, and so it's just, for some reason, I just picture this dude roided out. But
That's crazy.
Malador Locks thinks that a few wildlings is fewer worries. Hakuna Matata, bitches.
Hell
Like,
yeah, man. Like,
let's light this doob and not give a shit, because he
live
calls
our
them
lives.
raiders and murderers, all of them. So we get his idea on the wildlings real quick.
He's not going to be happy when they come to the new gift. But anyway, John sees some. Oh God, there's something in the bushes, Shaggy. What are we gonna do?
Yeah, no shit.
And the little tiny guy, Giant, as he's nicknamed,
Ha,
comes
ha.
walking out. Basically, it's their version of Tiny,
Yeah.
the big giant guy in jail. Because the Night's Watch is jail. He's giant. He's like 5 foot, and he climbs a lot. So he's basically a part of the Scouts, I imagine.
Yeah.
I don't know where, but his name is Bedwick.
But for some reason, this douchebag can't use his legs to walk up and approach people like normal, so he jumps limb to limb and then drops down, shouts down to them, saying that there's water to the north, might be a lake, hills to the west, not very high, but nothing much else to see. And like, I don't like Bedwick. I just don't like him.
Yeah, I was like,
He's not cool.
Giant?
He's not
No.
cool. Like fucking.
You're not a cool dude.
Aguay, Agai.
Angoy?
Angai in the Brotherhood.
Angui?
Wow.
Angai?
Listen to fucking
The
us.
Archer?
The Archer.
Yes.
Mormont wants to push on to reach the lake before camp, thinking that maybe they can catch some fish or whatever. But first, he needs to write Haman. I must write Haman.
And in order to write a letter, first we must convene our small council. And so we will be right back with you guys as soon as we get that taken care of.
Bam. This is the small council. What up? We're just here to let you guys know where you can reach us. We did get an inductee for our previous episode, so we're going to shout that out. But first, we'll get our socials. If you want to write into us, send us your inductees. You can reach us many different ways.
Yeah, so you're rushing, racing right along. If you would like to write in inductees, like the person that we had received one from this chapter, as well as the chapter that you're actually listening to, then you can reach us via email is the best way, withoutmannersbrotherhood@gmail.com. Zach is on Twitter.
Carstark92.
And I'm on Twitter @mannerswithout, which is also the Instagram. We have our Facebook, facebook.com/brotherhoodpodcast. You can reach us probably other places as well. Right? Patreon has a community board there. That's patreon.com/withoutmanners. Stop that. Zach's doing some weird stuff over here with his face, and I don't like it.
Sorry.
Anyway, so also leave us rates and reviews and all sorts of stuff like that. We've got this new rate place that supposedly we can get. It's called Rate This Podcast. RateThisPodcast.com/brotherhood. Go check that out and leave us a review over there, because that's also helpful.
A good one. I don't know if it's stars or
a good one is preferred, but not required. We don't give a fuck if you really don't like us. You've listened this long and you don't like us, like, more power to you.
I mean,
man.
I guess you've earned that bad.
Like,
Well, we've earned that bad review. But
do
what
it.
you gotta
So the inductee from last chapter that we did not get a chance to read because he read it a little bit late is from our favorite French fry listener, Julian. And he starts with, Bonjour les amis. We don't speak other languages, so... Ayo, what's up, Julian? Just kidding. We do know a little bit.
do. I failed every attempt.
Of every life, ever, of everything.
Yeah, I failed every attempt at the end of sentence, period.
Or just foreign language classes, but that's okay. Hadn't read in a while, and I thoroughly enjoyed getting back in it. Danny 1 was a nice chapter for me because I really discovered new stuff that doesn't appear in the TV show. The death of Doria was a moving moment, and I respect Danny for treating her kindly until her end. Then, I liked learning more about Jorah's past and why he had to earn money for his wife. Now I know. The more you know. Do. And hey, once again, the things we do for love. I sympathize with him, even though he kind of got creepy with Danny there. At least she read right through it and knows what to expect. And finally, I get to meet that Ashai character about which I have heard so much without knowing anything really from my own watching and reading. Now I can't wait to find out how she's linked with Karth and how her role is going to be more important than the useless apparition almost in the
You
TV
didn't even
show.
need to add the almost. It was completely useless for them to introduce Quaithe in the show. You're kind of right about that.
Yeah.
They did nothing with it, and she's still pretty significant in Dany's story, so.
Yeah, and so his inductee is going to be his favorite black beast, Balerion. He sincerely can't wait to see how he's going to be rendered in the series House of the Dragon, the new prequel show that's going to be fucking sick, hopefully. Kudos to Drogon for being called out Balerion Reborn. That's a pretty nice compliment. Good day to you both. Valar Rip Doriarius. Very good.
Good shit, huh?
And we're not mad. Don't worry, Julian.
I mean, that's my secret, Captain. I'm always angry, but... Yeah.
You're a cunt, though, and nobody likes you, Zach. So, if you would like to write in inductees, you've got our socials, you've got our email. Hit us up, and we will read them out. You can also look for the current chapter's inductees at the end of every episode.
You can do something like that.
So let us know what you think. We'll catch you on the next small council. Well, technically, we'll catch you right here in about 3 seconds when we get back to the episode, but...
We're doing that now. Bye. Mormont, a man of eloquence, language, dignity, sophistication, writes the letter at Whitetree, 4th village, all empty, wildlings are gone. And he tells Jon to see Sam send this off, and Jon does. Jon mounts, wheels his horse about, and goes beyond the canopy of the weirwood tree, where the rest of the men of the Night's Watch, the nobodies, the red shirts, all mounted, and we're getting ready for the command to ride out.
Yeah, and we kind of get a bit of an explanation of how the Night's Watch is currently moving as they move out. Jarman
Buckwell.
Is it Buckwell?
Yeah, it's Jarhead Buckwell.
Oh, right,
Boom,
okay.
motherfucker.
I wrote Blackwell, so I really hope that
I'm going to double check. You keep going on with the positioning.
Jarman, he has the scouts with right behind him is the vanguard under Thorin Smallwood's leadership, as we had mentioned, leading the column proper. And then comes Old Bear Mormont with the main force, followed by the baggage train, which is being...
Jarman Buckwell.
Okay, all right. Get off my back. Jeez Louise. The baggage train is led by Sir Malidor Locke, and then that's finally followed by the rear guard, commanded by Sir Other Willers.
Yeah, about 200 men all told, half again as many horses. So they traveled by day, camped by night, which again I think is a fun switcheroo on the Dany, where Dany is traveling by night, camping by day. And at night they gazed up at the comet, and... Jon begins to think. But
so, and that's it. That's another thing. They both are just groups of 200 or less people moving through these extreme,
harsh conditions.
And like you said, with that little twist on like the day-night traversal, and then but still both looking at the same fucking comet.
Yeah, and Jon thinks that they had all left in good spirits the Night's Watch, joking and jesting, but. The brooding silence of the wood seemed to have sombered most of them all. The jests had grown fewer, and tempers had grown shorter, and Jon could feel the unease around the campsites at night. The haunted forest had never seemed more haunted. Even the veteran rangers had agreed as much.
Yeah, that's really pretty... important, I think, because we if you remember way the fuck back to the prologue of Game of Thrones when we were out there with Garrett Cold Hands, before he was Cold Hands, he was the he was the veteran out there, and so like when we were talking about him during that episode, even I think we were mentioning this is the guy with the fucking expertise, like this is the dude to listen to. What are you thinking? Those, and then even when they were out, whichever guy it was that was with them, I always forget which one. Fuck. Maybe it was Dywin, but he was out when they discovered the hand, when they were saying their vows in front of the weirwood north of the wall, and you look up to and you listen to these fucking guys. Even they're all like, dude, there's something fucking weird happening here, man.
Yeah.
Something's peeking, man. Like, there's some weird shit.
Yeah. The haunted forest had never seemed more haunted. It's just, I'm fucking ominous. Thanks. Cool. But John begins to think of his little sister as he pulls off his glove to air out his burned hand, and it makes him sad to think that he would never again get to muss up her hair or call her little sister. And he begins flexing his hand, thinking about the exercises that Eamon gave him to make him an expert LED glover. So he can just get down at the fucking raves. No, he thinks that every man needed his sword hand beyond the wall, and so he's trying to stay on top of it as much as he can so that he can regain his swordsman skills.
Yeah. Who is that fucking... is it Gail Weathers there from fucking Family Guy that you sounded like with ending her report?
I don't know.
Trisha Takanawa.
Oh,
ending that ending.
Just to hone his swordsman skills. John found Sam with the other stewards.
They were tending the horses. He was tending his two that he's got to care for specifically.
Each had a large cage of ravens because, as we know, Sam is the keeper of keys and ravens at Hogwarts. And so...
But he basically gets the rundown from John that White Tree's empty, and John informs him they're kind of moving on, which upsets him because he was hoping to be able to chill in the village and rest there with a roof over his head. And John shoots that down. He's like, dude, there's like 4 huts, and we'd all be bro-hugging all night if we tried to put more than 2 guys in there at a time. And if there's only 2 guys in there at a time, then why not take, use of the facilities and utilize that time alone?
What the fuck?
You're not cutting me off, man.
What the fuck, dude?
I guess we're doing fan fiction here.
No, we are not. We never will.
Terrible news. Just kidding.
So, John mentions Mormont's letter, and Sam grabs a bird, attaches it, and says that he wishes the raven could carry him back to the wall because shit's tense. But then John, he thinks...
Tries to make it angsty.
Not truly, though.
Still?
And Sam mentions that, no, he's not as scared as he once was when they first rode out. He's sore for damn sure, but
he explains that it's not because he's scared anymore. He's just tired of being out on the fuck. He's just a fat guy that just wants to lay in his bed and read his books in the library. And he mentions
that he's been working a lot on his maps, and I think that's helping, giving him a distraction.
Yeah.
And the birds are his distraction. And John thinks the world is strange. 200 brave men had left the wall, and the only one not growing more fearful was Sam, the self-confessed coward. And they actually begin to jest of Sam becoming a ranger, and Sam's like, don't you fucking dare tell Mormont.
Yeah, I think it's funny because he really is just very science-based, and so because he's not really following or biting into the haunted bullshit, he's more worried about wildlings coming down on him because they're a real threat as far as he knows.
So the fact that there's none around is
cool, he's like, great. Right. And so I think it's a bit of a false confidence.
Oh, yeah,
in
definitely.
A way.
But I think it also,
at the same time,
the mention of his maps is like, there's a scientific reason for him.
So that's where I was going to go with it.
Mapping more.
Because it makes me almost seem like these two, it's very, especially because John was just over there feeling the power emanating from the tree. It's just a man of faith and a man of science.
Yeah. Nice lost.
Thanks.
Thing.
That's where I was going, but you were just...
You're just killing me. You need validation.
I need validate my claims.
And so Sam says, that he hopes to stay in White Tree. John says, nah, there's not enough roofs. They're going to be staying by the lake. And he rides off, swinging wide around the village and the main bulk of the men to avoid...
a ghost appears.
Well, yeah, when he swings around the thing, and as he's looping around wide, that's when
it wasn't suddenly... I must have skipped over a sentence because I thought it was when he was with Sam still.
Oh no, yeah, he rides off and he swings wide around the village, hoping to avoid the congestion of the Night's Watch passing through.
Yeah, because he's been out hunting as far away as he can because he's having trouble finding food too. It's not just the Night's Watch when finding game.
Which is interesting. So it's not only the people that are fleeing, but it's the animals. So that's when we learn here that it's not just...
So that's what...
The wildlings gathering.
That's that subtle... You don't really think of it that way. You
but
think
it's unsettling.
Oh, they don't have food or game. Why?
Yeah.
Because the animals are fleeing as well.
Yeah,
There isn't
it's unsettling.
That's why
it adds to this emptiness.
And so I think that's where you've got to recall, like, when they're camping at night, there's not owls hooting.
Mm-hmm.
There's not howling wolves.
Well,
there's
that's
not
it. Even at White Tree, when there were no twitterings of the birds around.
It's just
it was silence. Yeah.
The only noises are the ones they are making, and that's fucking. That's
You're
unsettling.
You're
that's
disturbing something. You're breaking the silence. Yeah, and.
He catches up to Mormont, or no, because he thinks about sitting around the campfire with Dywin, who told him, about the lack of game and everything. But
Ghost follows John right up back to Mormont, who asks if the bird was sent, and John says, "Yeah, Sam's teaching them to talk."
Yeah, because Sam taught a couple to
say snow. Yeah, and John was pissed about that.
Like, great, thanks. Like, I don't have one annoying bird saying my name's not enough.
You know what, John? Get the fuck over it. You don't have a monopoly on the word snow. Okay,
yeah, right.
Maybe
bastard. Maybe Sam's just thinks
doing
snow
a good
is
work
a nice
over
thing.
there. And so Mormont snorts and says, "Well, Tarly will regret that. They make a whole lot of noise, but never say anything worth hearing." And they ride in silence for a while until John
slips out this little
blurts out.
Because I think he's basically, as they're riding, he's thinking about it, that Uncle Benjen, if he were to find these wildling villages empty, he would have done exactly what we were doing. But he gets cut off.
Well, like, it's an interesting, like, kind of a writing style here, what Martin is doing, where John begins the thought and Mormont finishes it.
Right.
So John is thinking like a commander would.
Yeah.
And so, John starts if my uncle found these villages empty as well, Mormont finishes, he would make it his purpose to learn why. And it may be someone or something did not want that known. So, Mormont and John were both riding in silence.
Martin showing this evolution
Mormont
of John.
with his raven, John with his wolf. And then at the same time, they kind of both voice
the opinion that they've been thinking about. And so, I like that it does do that evolution where it flips. John starts it and he finishes it to show that there's a reason Mormont picked John to be leading this.
Yeah. There's something
very
to
similar.
This. And Mormont goes on to say, "We'll be 300 strong when Corin joins us. Whatever enemy waits for us out here will not find us so easy to deal with. We will find them, John. I promise you."
Or they will find us.
Why did you squeak?
I don't know. My throat caught on something, but...
Yeah, John thinks... Fucking, of course, because everyone's got
to
have the last word. But no, I mean, that's pretty much it. That's the fear that is permeating this chapter, is what is it that's causing these things to flee? Is it... I mean, the wildlings, we can assume... Question mark, that they could be going to Mance Rayder to form up this army.
Which isn't unlikely. That's but isn't the reason he's forming this army to unite and survive?
I would only say that because I don't think the dead are this close to the wall.
Right, and that's where I was gonna go with my next point.
Not that
because it still doesn't. I mean, that there's been some pretty
not that there's like a fucking a wave of undead coming down, because that's not what we have been dealing with at all. We get smart, trained little almost battle groups, but I feel like they're still a little too close to the wall. So I think that this is reactionary to the White Walkers and the Whites, but I think it's more because there's a fucking weirwood tree here.
And because there's a place for them to go that they're leaving.
Yeah.
The Wildlings.
And so I think, the Wildlings had an aimed course of where they wanted to go. Mm-hmm. So whether or not that was White related, I think it leans more toward them actually joining up with Mance. But God damn, that
was a fun chapter.
Yeah.
It was really interesting to see. It was this, like I said, it was a fast chapter, and so John didn't get a chance to be angsty in it. And then I liked Sam's kind of mirroring of that as well, of himself, showing this other side. So, who's your inductee?
Mormont.
Mormont?
Yeah.
Jorah?
No.
Well, then
Bear,
clarify,
'cause He's a
bitch.
fucking baller ass bitch with that skull.
That's true.
Like, I'm calling it, yo. That was a fucking across the goddamn village, just baller, and he fucking sunk it.
You're a fuck.
Mormont.
Yeah, okay.
For sinking that fucking bucket.
Jesus.
You got one?
Yeah, I'm going with Dolorous Ed.
Oh yeah,
Because
Ed
I'm
was my
so
second.
over Jeor Mormont's bullshit.
What the fuck?
Skulls talking and fucking people fucking bitching.
And then he ballers it
And
in.
then he
Dolores
thinks
Ed couldn't.
and that's what
fucking
he's
do it.
doing. Jeor Mormont's walking around like, you see that fucking sweet swish straight through there. Didn't fucking rimshot nothing in. And it's like, dude, like, John had to go pick it up and throw it in there. You missed. Like, he had to. Like, shut up.
That's from John's point of view. John
No,
saw him make
I
it.
really like that Ed keeps it fucking real.
Yeah, no, Ed
so.
he adds a lot of good humor to John chapters, especially
Yeah.
going forward. But
Yeah.
the introduction to him is great.
Yeah, it's
where
so
like,
good.
Why
And
the
just-
fuck do you want the dead to talk too? They're walking now.
And who's gonna
like-
say they're gonna tell you the truth? That
Which
they're gonna
is
know
such a valid
so
point.
that's something
like,
actually now
why
that I wanted to mention.
why do we assume the mantle of death makes people kinder or more truthful,
Right.
or any less vindictive or spiteful or selfish?
Well, that's it. You raise a wildling to start talking the dead wildling talking to the knights. Fuck you,
Yeah,
Crow.
like,
Fuck you.
suck
I'm
my
not
cock,
gonna, I'm not gonna
motherfucker.
fucking
Like,
tell
yeah.
you shit. Tell you where my brothers and sisters and children. Like, fuck you.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, no, I think Ed has a it's this.
he has a right
And that's
mind
such
of the world.
a fantasy show, like, you know, like, oh, like the dead, you know, speak to the dead. They'll tell you what occurred here, what happened. But I think it's a more realistic of like, no, probably you'll just get some whiny fucking bag of bones screeching at you about some
Right,
stupid
right.
shit that's not relevant to anything. And so Mormont is sort of granulizing, I think, the situation here. Where,
No,
like,
absolutely.
It's that. Ooh, like, you know, the dead are rising, so, like, you
If
know,
only we could talk to this one and find out.
yeah.
It's more if we could find out what happened to this.
Yeah.
And less actually.
And I
speaking
like
to
that
it,
Ed
but-
is there to point that out.
Yeah,
like-
yeah. He's
So
he's
we
the
did
grounded.
get an inductee for this episode
Yeah.
from our friend Julian. And he says, "Good evening, fine gentlemen," which is actually a great header because it's quite late as we're recording this one. And he says, "Nice chapter, though short. And it might be the first where the teenage anxiety doesn't blow up in the reader's face. Good for John. Some north of the wall wisdom and mystery. I dig that. The intriguing Crow. I like that too. But mostly, I've enjoyed Sam's lines, and that's why I'm inducting him into the Brotherhood. It's ironic that Samwell is the only one growing less frightened during that trip. It's probably because he's starting from such a high level of cowardice, which is a good point.
He's
to me.
already at expert
Yeah,
level.
I mean,
and
you
he
can't get any more
just,
fucking...
Yo, I'm already. Here's the secret. I'm always scared. Didn't you do your always angry shit earlier?
And because he might be a bit more naive at the moment. That will change. Moreover, I thoroughly enjoy crows as animals. They're smart, kind of creepy, but still majestic as well. Teaching them to talk, to be more like my favorite burb from the books. Hell yes, Tarly, keep going. And get ridiculously brave. You're meant to be awesome. Can't wait to hear some deeper meaning to that chapter. Good night, guys. Valor Croarius. Well, thank you, one, for your inductee, Julian. Sam is killing it north of the wall, doing much better than I think
killing it.
anyone would expect.
Drop my stuff.
Good night to you as well. I actually don't know the time difference, but it is night
Yeah,
here.
it's very
so,
late
like,
here. So.
good call on that. And yeah, thanks for writing in.
And
that
so
was-
you could do the same. That was John 2.
John 2.
John 2.
John
That's
2,
it.
man.
We're hitting next chapter is going to be Arya 4, and so we're double chapters for her
Yeah.
already, and it's going to be a sweet one. So
Some shit
if
goes down.
You got some inductees, send them on in for Arya 4 or whoever comes after Arya.
Arya is going to be Tyrion 3, I believe.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we're going to be getting right into this shit
We're
here.
in it now, guys.
So,
like,
yeah,
this is it.
keep sending in inductees. Keep letting us know your thoughts.
Keep leaving those rates and reviews, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Valor Doharius.
Peace.